My name is Valia, and I'm 40 years old. My cousin Valentina's wedding was supposed to be a night full of joy. After all, she'd dreamed about that day for years. I was excited too, to watch her walk down the aisle, though if I'm honest, something had been bothering me since I opened the invitation. My ex would be there. He and Valentina had shared friends since college, so his presence was unavoidable. When I saw his name on the guest list weeks before the ceremony, I considered not going, but I refused to let a man from my past keep dictating my decisions. I arrived at the venue just before evening fell. The place was beautiful, lit with warm lights and decorated with white flowers everywhere. My family had claimed several tables near the dance floor. I greeted everyone, posed for photos, and tried hard to focus only on my cousin. It worked for almost an hour until I saw him. He was by the bar, laughing with a group of guests. He looked exactly the same as he had 5 years earlier, when he ended our 7-year relationship with a single phone call. 7 years together. 30 seconds to end it all. I felt an uncomfortable jab in my chest, but kept walking. I wasn't going to approach him, wasn't going to speak to him, wasn't going to give him any importance. But fate apparently had other plans for that night. After the ceremony, during the cocktail hour, I heard someone say my name. Valia. I turned my head. It was him. He was smiling like nothing had ever happened between us. "Hi," he said. "Hi." A few seconds of awkward silence followed. "You look good." "Thanks." "Good to see you." He was lying. I knew him far too well not to recognize that arrogant smile. Before I could walk away, one of his friends approached with a drink in hand. "This is Valia," my ex said. "Ah, right. My ex." The friend let out a laugh. "Wow, so you're the famous Valia." I didn't like that tone at all. "Famous for what?" My ex took a sip of his drink. "Nothing important." But everyone smiled, and in that instant I understood they'd spent years talking about me like I was some funny story. I tried to leave. "Wait," he said. I looked at him, and then he said the words that stayed burned into my memory forever. "You know, leaving you was probably the best decision I ever made in my entire life." The group burst out laughing. My body froze in place, not because it hurt, but because I couldn't believe the level of arrogance I'd just witnessed. 5 years. 5 years later, and he still needed to humiliate me to feel important. "Good for you," I replied, and turned to walk away, but he kept talking. "Look at me now, my own business, a new house, traveling the world. It all started the day I made the right call." Some guests watched, uncomfortable. Others pretended not to hear anything at all. I kept walking. I wasn't going to give him the show he was so clearly looking for. I found an empty table near the garden and sat down. I needed air. I needed distance. And above all, I needed to remind myself that that man's opinion no longer meant anything at all. As I watched the string lights swaying in the breeze, memories I'd spent years avoiding started resurfacing. The broken promises, the lies, the nights he vanished without explanation, the times he made me feel like I wasn't enough. For a long time, I believed losing him had been my failure. But over the years, I understood something completely different. It had been my freedom. I was so lost in thought that I didn't notice the small figure running toward me across the grass. I heard quick little footsteps, then a small child's voice. "Mummy!" I looked up. A girl of about 6 was running straight toward me. I glanced behind my chair, thinking she must be calling someone else. There was no one there. I looked at her again. She kept running toward me, smiling with tears in her eyes. "Mummy!" My heart started pounding. The girl reached me and, without stopping, wrapped her small arms around my waist. She hugged me tightly, as if she'd been searching for me for years. My whole body went rigid. Nearby guests started turning to look. I looked down. The little girl rested her head against me. "I found you," she whispered. Confusion hit me like a cold wave. "Sweetheart, I think you have the wrong person." She looked up. Her eyes were shining with emotion. She wasn't smiling. "You're my mom." A chill ran down my spine. Several people had stopped to watch the scene. The music kept playing. The conversations continued. But for me, the entire world had stopped, because the girl didn't look confused at all. She looked completely certain. Then something even stranger happened. Her smile faded. She looked toward the main entrance of the venue. Her eyes lit up. "He's here." I followed her gaze. The doors had just opened. A tall man had just walked in, and the moment our eyes met, the color drained completely from his face. The man froze at the entrance. I froze too. The girl kept hugging me, smiling as if everything made perfect sense. But to me, none of it did. "Who is he?" I asked. The little girl let go of my waist and pointed at the man who'd just arrived. "My dad." A strange silence fell over the scene. The man started walking toward us. He looked nervous, very nervous, and he never took his eyes off me. When he got a few steps away, he took a deep breath. "Valia." My heart lurched. I knew him. Not closely, but I knew him. His name was Damien. We'd crossed paths a few times years earlier, at events hosted by mutual friends. He was always kind to me, though we never really became friends. "What's going on here?" I asked. Damien looked at the girl. "Lucia, sweetheart, can you wait a moment?" She shook her head. "I found Mummy." That word hit me again. Mummy. Several nearby guests were now watching without even trying to hide it. Then I heard a familiar voice behind me. "What the hell is going on here?" It was my ex. He'd arrived with several guests trailing behind him. The arrogant smile he'd worn minutes earlier was gone. Now he looked confused. Damien looked at him, and for the first time I noticed something strange between them. There was hostility, a lot of it. "This isn't your business," Damien answered. "You're at my friend's wedding making a scene." "The scene started the moment you decided to open your mouth." Some people exchanged uneasy glances. My ex let out a mocking laugh. "And who do you think you are, talking to me like that?" Damien didn't answer right away. He simply reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and pulled out a photograph. I looked at it and felt the air leave my lungs. It was a photo of me, taken more than 6 years ago. I recognized it instantly. I was sitting in a cafe, reading a book. I had never seen that image before in my life. "Why do you have that?" I asked. Damien lowered his eyes. "Because for years, I tried to find you." My ex frowned. "What nonsense is this?" Damien completely ignored the question. His eyes stayed fixed on me. 7 years ago, I received a letter. A letter? From a woman named Elena. The name meant nothing to me. She worked at a private clinic. My stomach tightened. What clinic? Damien swallowed hard. A fertility clinic. My entire body froze, because years earlier I'd gone through something almost no one knew about. Before I met my ex, I had decided to donate eggs. It was legal, anonymous, and something I'd completely forgotten about. until that very moment. Damien kept talking. My wife and I spent years trying to have a child. After a lot of treatments, Lucia was born. The girl smiled at the sound of her name. But my wife passed away when Lucia was 2 years old. The pain in his voice was unmistakable. A year ago, I found Eleanor's letter. What did it say? That there had been an administrative error at the clinic. My heart started pounding violently. She discovered who the real biological donor was. The ground seemed to tilt beneath me. Damien continued. It was you. I felt tears building in my eyes, not because I suddenly felt like a mother, but because no one, absolutely no one, had ever told me. For years. Lucia stared at me steadily. I found you. My ex let out a disbelieving laugh. This is ridiculous. But no one laughed with him. No one, because the emotion on that little girl's face was far too real to doubt. Damien pulled out some documents from his jacket. I have proof. My ex spoke again. And what does that have to do with me? Then Damien slowly turned toward him. For the first time, I saw real fear on my ex's face. Damien raised an eyebrow. Because you knew about all of this the whole time. The silence that followed was absolute. What? I asked. My ex stepped back. Damien held up another document. You worked as an outside consultant for that clinic years ago. My ex's expression changed completely. That proves nothing. It also proves you received several emails about the administrative error. Now even the guests standing furthest away were watching intently. They tried to reach me, Damien said, his jaw tightening. But someone blocked every single attempt. I felt my blood run cold. No. Damien nodded. Every letter was returned. Every call was cancelled. Every email was deleted. I looked at my ex. For the first time all night, he seemed unable to say a single word. Did you do this? He didn't answer. You did this. His silence was answer enough. The pieces started falling into place, one by one. The unexplained address changes, the messages that never reached me, the missed opportunities, the years and years of unanswered questions, all of it, every single piece. My ex looked down at the floor, and that's when I understood something truly awful. He had wanted to keep controlling my life even after abandoning me. He didn't want me to find anything that could help me move forward, not even the truth. A woman nearby murmured, "How shameful." Someone else shook her head, clearly disappointed. My ex looked around and, for the first time that night, realized no one was on his side. No one. The same crowd that had been laughing at his jokes minutes earlier now looked at him with pure contempt. He stepped back once, then again, and finally walked out of the venue without saying another word. No one tried to stop him. No one. Lucia hugged me again, tightly. This time I didn't pull away. Damien had tears in his eyes. So did I. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know what place I would hold in that little girl's life. I didn't know how to rebuild a story I hadn't even known existed. But I knew one thing for certain. The man who had bragged to everyone that leaving me was the best decision of his life had just discovered that the worst decision of his had been trying to erase mine completely. As the guests slowly drifted back to the celebration, Lucia took my hand in hers. "Can I sit with you?" I smiled through tears. "Of course you can, sweetheart." And for the first time in many years, I felt like something I thought was lost forever had finally found its way home.